Tervehdys, Laura.
Terve Otto.
And terve to you all listening or watching this, our Spirit of Sauna podcast. It's an interesting show we have today again. We're always trying to sort of delve deep and think about roots and essence of sauna. And this is what we're doing also today. And just to remind you to subscribe if you like. Recommend to your friends and family, anyone who's actually interested in sort of the Baltic Finnish way of approaching sauna. We could actually do an episode about Baltic Finnish sauna tradition as well. That's another thing that we could explore, how we have, what kind of traditions we have had here. But every episode is, we're trying to get one theme a little bit and go a little bit deeper to that particular topic.
Yeah, and of course we want to hear from you, so leave us a comment or a question or send us a message, anything. We would love to, of course, talk about those topics that are on people's minds and you know, in their wonderings. So, of course, let us know.
Yeah, it's a high likelihood to get an episode from of your favorite topic if you just suggest it to us.
Yeah.
But today we kind of wanted to do a sort of not even opposite. We can even start talking about this, whether it's the opposite of the topic of our previous episode, which was about death and sauna. And now we're talking about sauna and life, or sort of what goes around sort of this very broad sort of wording.
Yeah.
But how did you? I just suggested a couple of hours ago that we actually do an episode about this. So how did you feel? Like, what's your take on this?
Well, of course, I think it's almost like a cliche in Finland to speak that, Finns have died in sauna and we have been born in sauna. I think for a Finn it's very natural that, of course, yes, if you talk about, if your episode topic is sauna and death, then the other episode is sauna and life.
Yeah, right.
Because really sauna has been our gateway of transition in this sort of different stages. I would say it now. So I think this phrase has been used so much that it has almost worn out.
Yeah, it's almost a cliche.
It is almost, but still it has so much in it when you think about it.
Yeah, indeed. And maybe I'm thinking about life in a very broad context, maybe even like mythological context, because very numerous traditions around the world have sort of, in one sense, differentiated, but on the other hand, just thinking about how, you know, every phenomenon we have on this planet is revolving around two opposites. So you have the night, you have the death, the darkness, and everything that is associated with that part of the cycle. And then you have the other cycle, which is light, health, sun, you know, all of this kind of like vitality, these kind of things. So I think this opposite, like polarities that are usually, the traditions are pretty, you know, unanimous in the fact that they say that the reality is one, you know, the experience of a one mind or something like this. They have had very scholarly and very philosophically sound and logical arguments on how does this actually operate. But some traditions really want to emphasize this idea that, yes, it is one, but it is like a day. You know, the potential of the day is in the night and the potential of the night is in the day. In the same way, in every sort of levels of life. So you were talking about the ritualistic part. So that you would have some kind of rituals, like you will have in a couple of days, actually, about after giving childbirth. And then on the other hand, in the sort of, you know, afterlife, passing the body to the afterlife in a sense. So maybe it's about these polarities. Is life actually about these polarities? Like that's what I'm thinking a lot. Like, can we understand sort of the ritualistic, for example, sort of framework from this polarities? What do you think?
I think it's an important sort of framework for concept of ritualistic work, because if you think about basic human life experience, what is your experience? You have sort of the idea, the experience of you, but during the daytime you're expressing outwards, and during the nighttime you're sort of expressing inwards. And I think this is sort of in such a foundational level of human concept of human life that of course it's very important to understand. And then when you consider this sort of sauna rituals especially, this I think with every time when we pour the löyly, we keep repeating this. We express out and we express in, and this is so much emphasized when we look at the runes and spells to do with the löyly. It's always we talk about, well, in the runes, because it's a mythological language, we talk about good or on bad löyly. And this sort of, so there is always this expression of outwards and inwards. So.
Yeah, but can you expand on that? That's actually really interesting about the good and bad löyly, and about sort of the mythological polarities between. Because for the most of the time when I was reading the runes, I had this naivistic idea that you would, sort of the ancient people in Finland didn't know things, so they thought bad löyly is going to kill you and the good löyly is going to heal you, and they were afraid of the löyly, and that's what they had these runes. But what do you think? Like, what's going on in there?
Yeah, of course, that's I think very common interpretation when we start looking at runes mythologies. We always look at the hero is the good one, and then there is the bad one doing the evil things, and sort of we want to take them as this polarity, and for me, yes, good and bad, they give us a hint of this sort of, when we understand that they are very deep symbols. And when, for example, if we think about the very famous Finnish runes where we have like this hero Väinämöinen, and then sort of the how would I say, the evil witch of the north, Pohjanakka. And Väinämöinen described as very active and wise and powerful, and this Pohjanakka maybe scary and dark, and this. So similarly, in the runes that describe löyly, we have this concept that there is the how would I say, the good expressing, creating side of the löyly, and you can really feel it when you're in the sauna, and then there is the, how would I say, the löyly that sort of scares you, burns you, sort of you experience a small death when that löyly really hits you, and it really like takes you over. But the fact is that bad in a sense that, okay, it may feel temporarily bad, but when you really find the essence of the bad, you realize that you really feel good. This is on a very like simple level, but this is to me what all these like polarities describe in this mythological language. That and then from the bad then comes the good, and from that good again starts then the bad. Right.
And this actually, like, the interesting part is about, if we think about the three-layered world that is very common for the Finnish tradition, when they say that we sort of, for example, what is the role of the shaman is to travel. They always, like, when you have like the researchers or mythology researchers, like especially in academia, they say that the shaman used to travel, between these worlds, so that the shaman would sort of, they would have these beliefs that the shaman would transform to be an animal and travel between these worlds. But I think there's a misconception with this, because the traveling, it's not actually that you're going anywhere. It's kind of your mind, where you're having certain kinds of layers. So when we think about different kinds of saunas, even nowadays, it's funny how, the three-part world is still, it's the explaining framework still. It can be explaining. For example, I was in Estonia, in Viimsi spa in Tallinn, which is known for its many saunas or saunas. There's a couple of saunas, because I don't consider a place where you don't pour the löyly a sauna. But anyways, like, some of them were sort of, the designer of the sauna even was thinking about something like reaching towards the heavens, heavenly, white, tiles and all of this, like that you would want to feel like so much lighter, rising up in a sense. And also I'm thinking in some of these modern saunas that I've been to, which have big windows and these very design kind of like square, they're louder, what's that, like benches and all of that. And then I'm comparing this to our like smoke sauna, which is a completely dark place where sometimes even in the late at night when the candle is going out, it's completely dark. And it feels like you're curling towards inside of yourself. And just yesterday I was lying there for a long time and thinking about how you always just like go down, down. And in this way, that the funny thing about this sort of, how would I even say, mental traveling or something like this, if it was the shaman who was doing this, the idea of the shaman is to bring knowledge back to the community. That's sort of the role. That's why people, shaman doesn't have to work. The shaman's work is about bringing knowledge and wisdom. And on a personal level, I noticed this, that sort of how sauna breeds life is through these two ways. And I'm happy to use both of these, like to sort of feel light. And I think summer sauna is something like this. You go to a mökki sauna and you feel like, it's kind of lifting up. And then you feel something that is beyond your just everyday mental state. You feel like, yes, I did realize this one thing, or gain this piece of wisdom from my own depths of my mind. But you can use both methods. So I think if the last episode we had was about how you go down in a sauna all the way towards sort of almost the underworld, and maybe now we can think about how can it be like uplifting, like how it can breathe life and inspiration and ideas, and how this part could be talked about. So.
Yeah, because I feel that sort of sauna is a fire ritual, but it's also water ritual, and you have this sort of that fire, it burns everything to the skies, and water then soothes, brings everything back down, and like water pours from the heavens into the soil. So for me, sauna this is the good and bad löyly. This is the sort of going to the higher worlds or going to the underworlds, and in a sauna very practical way, you have this fire burning and it burns you up, and then you have this sort of water element that's really takes you down and soothes everything down. And one comment I have to say that in a modern world, like we spoke a little bit last time, the death is something we try to avoid of. That's why maybe nowadays we need more of those, I would now call it water rituals, sort of, because we have a lot of that we just want to uplift ourselves, and we want to sort of to fire the burn strong, and we want it to go. But the funny thing is that because we lack death, we lack the water, we lack this bad löyly in our lives, so the fire cannot really burn. And that's the funniest thing. It doesn't burn bright if it doesn't have the basic foundation, because in mythology and symbolism, it is this like the reaper and the harvesting. What is it called? Anyway, what the reaper has in its hand is a very great symbol for this. That actually all life comes from death.
Yeah.
And that's why when we start talking about this, like how sauna is this uplifting and how would I say, really, really truly a fire ritual. It's important to understand that we never separate. Actually, in the sauna, it's always this water is the essence. We have to pour it on the rocks, like you said.
Yeah.
We don't really consider it sauna if it doesn't have the water in it also. Just a small note that.
Exactly, because I think like electricity is also a great symbol, because electricity, we know how we don't really know. It's kind of mystical, really. Well, like how does electricity actually come here? You have to study like almost to be an electrician to understand all of this. sort of basic ideas behind the currents of electricity. But on the other hand, like we do understand the fact that electricity is like energy manifested. So, some energy comes in and then we get these lighting, glowing things that we use all the time, like starting from a lamp all the way to quantum computers or whatever. And nowadays we're in a situation where if you look at the Earth from space, you see just lights everywhere. Lights. We use electricity for these kind of really uplifting things. So what I'm wondering is that a sauna, like in Viimsi Spa, for example, which is usually heated with electricity, and you cannot even pour the löyly to sort of curb the sort of the fire element, which in this situation is electricity. Then it feels too much. It is like a paha löyly, although it is like uplifting in a sense. The milieu, the way it is heated, and the complete lack of other elements than just kind of fire. So it's very like incomplete. But then on the other hand, like when returning to these ancient ways of heating, like smoke sauna is of course the best example, but even just wood heated sauna, then it is a very different, like experience wise it's different, but also like it's almost like you make a statement about the world with how you heat your sauna. So you say, I appreciate light. So you have an electric sauna, you think about, you have your phone app, would you put it on, and then it's on. It's very inconvenient.
A lot of windows, a lot of lights.
Yeah, a lot of light. It's almost like it's, you don't want to go deep inside of yourself or just like completely let go. You're just like, I go in, I have the sauna and get the benefits later, and then I can be more productive next day or something like this. It's more suitable for this kind of experience. Whereas with the smoke sauna, which is completely this sort of cradle of death in a sense, you spend the whole day there. It's like a complete ritual that you prepare everything, starting from the wood to the water to everything. So it also sort of gives this vibe that now I'm celebrating death as a form, as a springing board for the new life, or the foundation for the new life. So I guess we are ritualistic beings, and whether we think about it or not, we sort of choose a kind of perspective whenever we do this kind of ritualistic behavior, like going to a sauna.
Yeah, and rituals are what upholds our world, are the whole concept of our world. So everybody has their rituals, be it brushing your teeth in the morning, or then be it performing some sort of traditional, some ritual that has been passed to you, or be it just something that comes out of habits. But rituals exist, and considering sauna rituals, smoke sauna is very unique in that way that it sort of reflects the basic principles of life, that you cannot really control it. Like this electric sauna, you set the exact temperature, you set exact the sort of, in some saunas I think you can even control the moist of air, everything. So much
Climate
you control
sauna.
Yes. but smoke sauna, it's not like that. It's like life itself. It has the death, it has the life, and in the beginning it's very hot and full of fire, and sort of the fire burns everything from there, and in the end, like in human life, in the end it starts to be very mellow, and you don't have that much fire going on anymore. It's more about diving deep in, and sort of I feel that smoke sauna rituals is in that way unique. You cannot control it. You have to just surrender to the sort of that it reflects life.
Yeah, it is what it is. And actually now when I'm thinking about it, there is a massive difference between having a sauna in the end of December and in the end of June.
Yeah.
So when I think about just like exiting the sauna, coming out of underground from the sauna, and in the wintertime it's dark, it's like a blanket around everything, a blanket of snow, blanket of darkness, cold, and so you come outside and you're like, whoa, like really like, oh man, this is like, you want to lay down or something. And in the summertime you come out, it might be midnight, but it's still light out. Birds are singing. There's like you even want to go to the cold plunge just to just hang out in there. You cannot even keep it cold.
Go on the field.
Yeah, like just lie down. Lie down on the field. So it is uplifting. So smoke sauna, I guess, with the best of smoke saunas are exactly this, that they recognize this death and life aspect of the sauna ritual. Whereas when it's not, when your place is not built for ritual purposes in a sense, although you use it ritualistically, although not knowing about it, then it might be whatever, you try to control, but then you cannot control your sort of mind, how you are in the sauna, how you feel afterwards. And yeah, I guess how sauna sort of facilitates life is you can choose. There's certain basic things that every sauna does. Like it seems that when you go to the löyly, your heart rate goes up. When you go to cold plunge, for example, your heart rate goes down if you can calm your breath. But then sort of everything else, how it attaches to the yearly cycle, how it attaches to your life cycle. Maybe when you're young, you like one kind of sauna. When you're older, you like a different type of sauna, and all of this.
And for women, the monthly cycle is very important.
Yes.
It's very different
exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah.
a lot.
Definitely. And morning sauna is different than the night sauna and all of that. And maybe sort of if one wants to incorporate both the death and life cycle of your sauna, maybe it would be a good idea to even plan the sauna from this perspective. Sort of think about what kind of sort of ritualistic behavior I will be engaging in this sauna.
Yeah.
And of course, there's this, might even sound a little woo-woo, but if you do a lot of these ritualistic things in your own sauna, like sing spells,
use different herbs, use different whatever, you bring this sort of ritualistic performances in there.
Yeah, but then when you do it more often, the sort of sauna remembers. And that's kind of like, and it's very subjective, but I feel like all of the rituals that we have done in our smoke sauna, for example, sort of live on in the feeling of the sauna. And I think that's one of the reasons why people like it so much. And I actually can even claim that I know from a certain sauna where I come for the first time that yes, there has been ritualistic things happening in here. You can sense it somehow, but it's really hard to put into words.
No, it's a same thing like you go to a certain like a sacred place in somewhere where there has been a church or there has been a temple. Right. You can feel it, and in the forest also you can feel when there has been rituals performed and sort of the harmonization and aligning with the greater has been happening. You can really feel it, but this is something, it's beyond words.
Yeah,
so
right. But yeah, coming from the things that are beyond beyond words, to things that we do have words about. I was talking about electricity, and the interesting sort of life-enhancing thing that is not so much talked about when it comes to sauna. But I was recently listening to one doctor who was interviewed by two Danish guys, and the Danish guys were like thinking, well, it's good for you to live in Florida, but here in the north, it's quite harsh. So how would you sort of deal with this kind of environment? And he was talking about mitochondria and about the cell function.
Yeah.
And he said that it's almost impossible to reverse this damage that is done for the fact that we don't have sunlight for some couple of months. But he said like spending most time outdoors and having a sauna as often as possible is the way how you can actually deal with this. And from this point, like I'm thinking because mitochondria is something we remember it from high school textbooks. It's it's this powerhouse of the cell. It creates ATP, the energy currency we use, and so on. But it seems that the mitochondria is so much more. It even might be that our brains, which use 20% of all of our energy, and the idea of brain fog or even depression or ADHD and all kinds of mental illnesses that we have are actually metabolic problems in our mitochondria. So there's really exciting studies when it comes to this. But from this perspective, what the mitochondria likes is the polar opposites working perfectly. So I was recently just actually sitting in the sauna and I started to expand on this, and I have this working hypothesis of how actually the elements of the which we were talking about in the element episode, how to heat up a sauna. So what does a sauna, like a stove or the sauna building, need to be full? You know, all the four elements to produce the lolu, which sort of fulfills the space, and so you have this process finished. What does what needs to happen in our cell kind of reminds me of this, because in the cell you need sort of the oxygen to flow through the cells, and the deal with the cells are pretty much dealing with that oxygen. Then you would have the fire, the metabolic fire that is burning, like the mitophagia, where you make new mitochondria from the old remains of the old by burning, and so on. And then you would have the cell wall in the form of earth, through which this nutrition, for example, is moving. And then you would have the water, which is basically cells, not just water. So if this would be the case, then why do we feel so great after sauna? It might be that it sort of tunes our cells or our mitochondria to work in a different way. Because you have this opposite all the time, so you're going from one end to the next, especially if you mix it with cold plunge. Then you teach how these two seeming opposites of life actually work together to produce healthy life culture. So I'm thinking about this a lot, that actually we need, like, it's true even in our cells, that we need this death in order to spring new life. We need our system to recycle the old building blocks to build new, and so on. And it's so fascinating the sauna can actually facilitate this. And how we feel it subjectively is just, we feel great. We feel good afterwards. And now we would maybe even have a scientific language to talk about something that was talked about with runes, like in the ancient times.
Yeah, because when you speak about mitochondria, I feel that, okay, now Otto is singing the rune of birth of fire.
Yeah, right.
So yes.
Yeah, same. But
I'm not very familiar with mitochondria, but I agree.
Yeah.
Here in Scandinavia, actually in the northern, how would I say, Baltic Finnish, I think was the word you used.
Yeah.
In this area, I feel we're very, very fortunate that our ancestors have provided us with this actual very practical ritual to keep this knowledge alive and keep us practicing it. And now, okay, we can talk about it with mitochondria and understand the cellular metabolism, that it actually, what it does.
Yeah.
And we can bring it to our language and into our worldview concepts. And that is true. But things that are true, they are true on all levels. So yes, we can speak about it in runes, we can speak about in cellular biology, or we can perform a sauna ritual.
Right.
So this is something that is very unique here, and sauna ritual is in that way even, how would I say, because of course you can do these rituals like in a temple. Many cultures have performed this same ritual in a temple, and you sort of have like a worship ritual going on. But I think where you started this talking about this sort of health in general, these problems that we experience because of this long dark winter. So for us it's really important. It has been something extremely practical.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, at least personally, I have a background from like Eastern traditions. I was really trying to adopt those rituals and make myself healthy and happy and whole with those rituals. But with the sauna, I feel it brings the level of practicality, physicality that is needed when you're here. You don't have the sun, so you need the sauna stove to radiate that heat, to penetrate you and to really reinforce that life force in you.
Yeah, and it's actually very interesting when you mentioned this. I always had the same problem. Like my master's is in philosophy, but like the most time I've used in the Eastern, especially in the South Asian traditions, the Vedic traditions, while it is a part of my life culture for sure, but for example, what I found really troubling is that how they are missing on these yearly, that sort of their ritualistic behavior is not surrounded around the yearly cycle.
Yeah.
In Finland, we have like 4 main celebrations a year, and then I would say like 10 different kind of smaller celebrations that are always sort of rhythmically go year after year, decade after decade, maybe even hundreds of or thousands of years. Every time there is a sort of almost like we could say astronomical alignments with the Big Dipper, then we have a big celebration. And for me, that's the most like natural way of celebrating life, because we know when life completely dies in the wintertime. We know when it's full of life in the midsummer, and even because of the northern climate, we can see it in the movement of the sun relative to us. So this is why I would encourage everyone to sort of build one's life culture around sort of the natural forces where you live, around how it is where you live.
Yeah.
And this is why I think about like people in Minnesota or the Great Lakes who are so enthusiastically about the sauna, is that they have this, they sort of celebrate this this kind of way of like taking part in the yearly cycle, because it's very familiar. And I'm always wondering about the saunas in the tropics. It's like, how does it feel? Because I think I never had a sauna in the tropics, and whether it's even possible to sort of have the rhythm in this way, like to celebrate the differences between the winter and the summer, because maybe winter and summer are not so like different at all.
Yeah, when you don't have such a distinct seasons, of course, it's for us difficult to even imagine. But of course, nature has its cycle there too. So I do believe that it's possible to align with that. Because, like, for example, our 2 ritual saunas that have really sustained Finns even into the modern day is the Christmas sauna and midsummer sauna. And these 2 saunas have so much, like, you can really feel what you were describing, this, the yearly cycle is very well performed in this these 2 sauna ceremonies, I would call them. Because Christmas sauna is really different from midsummer sauna. And the way people express it and the way people perform it is truly reflects the yearly cycle. So I do believe that wherever you are, you can always align yourself. But it is like they say that what is close to you is your best healer. So it is important to connect with the nature right there. Nature knows what is blossoming, what is offering its gifts, its shelter. Maybe that is where you go to then for your yearly cycle. Like, for example, here our nature gives us a lot of hints. In the summer you have the birds going strong and everything is blossoming and flourishing. So why not bathe with the flowers, bathe with the leaves? And in the winter time, then there is only the strong spruce surviving. So go under it, take shelter from there, and dive deep. So I think similarly, nature really tells us this because nature is nature. It expresses always with the same polar forces. So I think hints can be found from there. But I have not been performing sauna rituals in the, like, for example, Mediterranean side. So you would have to really spend time there and explore the way nature expresses there.
Yeah, and actually it feels like some not very familiar to me when I was trying to give advice to one of our students in Portugal about how to heat a sauna, and of course I know the northern wood pretty well. I know which ones work for sauna, different kinds of sauna, whether it's continuously heated or smoke sauna, what should you use and how you should prepare the wood and all of that. But then when hearing about these trees that are really prevalent in Portugal, I was like, okay, well, it's I'm out of my league. I don't know how these work. Like what kind of heat they produce and what kind of smoke they produce. So maybe it is that I have attached this very much to the northern side. So when it comes to the southern side and their sort of fire rituals and how to apply, for example, could you apply sauna to somewhere in the equator? I'm not sure if you can, or at least if I can. You know, it's you. Maybe you could, but my expertise is not there, so I would have to study a lot and maybe spend some time and sort of assimilate the sauna to the surroundings that you have there.
Yeah.
But maybe it is also, on the other hand, like yoga. Like if you have a very good yoga system, you know, we know from scientific studies that it relaxes you and you know it's good for your joint health and you know you good for back pain and all of these kind of things. Same way we know about all the saunas around the world that it seems that people report like feeling you know, really happy and good afterwards. You have this sort of basic strata of the sort of how would you say, wellness benefits or something like that. But then there's other layers, and how the sauna is attached to its surrounding and its culture. It's a massively important one.
Yeah.
And actually, the one that I'm most interested in, like how could sauna be a part of one's life culture and the culture around in a very sort of wide sense? What kinds of elements of life could you incorporate in sauna? Can you incorporate to sauna how you like use herbs or flowers from the forest? Can you incorporate how you drink, how you eat? What are your relationships like? How can this be sort of the catalyst for all of this kind of sort of self-discovery and discovery about the culture? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the Finnish tradition, you know, that's where I know how it works pretty much. But other traditions, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. I would love to say that, of course, it's universal.
Yeah.
But because
sweat bathing is universal.
Yes.
But now I'm thinking about sauna particularly.
Sauna as a concept of being a temple of forest. And if we consider what is forest, well, in the Finnish mythology, if we trace back, forest is sort of symbol of the great mind expressing in various forms of life. Like all life expression is symbolized as forest.
Yeah.
Because it has been sort of where people have lived, and that is the best symbol for something that is so great and expresses in so many ways. So Mielikki is the lady of the forest in the Finnish mythology, and her name means sort of the great mind that expresses in various ways. And if sauna is the temple of this forest, the temple of the basic elements of life, then I do believe that expression is found everywhere. But it's not fixed in the northern way when we go south. So maybe it would be like a sort of water bath. Who knows? You know that because life expresses in so many ways, and when you align yourself with the local way, that's the best thing. Because now we are in the modern world, we like to, and I know myself, I would love to see that, oh yes, this is the universally good, and this is good for everybody, and everybody has mitochondria and they work like this, so I know how to fix everything and this is my way. But I do believe that life is more, variant. And even the moon itself, it's in a different position when we are in different parts of the world. So why wouldn't our forest ritual be, or forest temple be also expressing that difference?
And there are some sort of technological innovations, modern technological innovations, like electricity, for example, which is universal. Like, okay, there's bad sides for sure. Yes, we know that. But like universally, if we think about the pluses and minuses, most people will agree we need electricity to, it's very good for our, life culture to be
at least modern life culture.
Modern life culture to survive, kind of like this kind of thing. But on this other hand, like sauna, it is has been a ritual place for sure. But what that actually means is that it's a means of survival. Sort of the survival is just a little bit different. Maybe our ancestors were more interested in about like spiritual survival than material survival, if we would make this distinction in a sense. But then now when sauna is everywhere, like electricity is everywhere, then I could think like, okay, in the same way, pluses and minuses, always go to a sauna. It's a good idea most of the time. If you're not really, really sick, then go to sauna. It's probably very good for you. Yeah. And the same way, you know, if you need light in the morning to fix breakfast for your kids, you know, put on the light, you know, it's probably quite good for you, you know. It's on the plus side in this kind of use. Yes. So then I would think about it as a technology that we have the sort of base layer that is for everyone. And probably all of you people who are listening now, you use sauna in this base layer at least. Yeah. But then some of us are really interested in also the sort of deeper layers, like what is in the foundation of sauna. And that's a more complicated question.
Yeah, it would be great to hear if somebody is listening from Mediterranean or Ecuador side.
How does it work?
How does it work? How do you adjust your sauna ritual on those levels, and how does the yearly cycle reflect in you in those? Because this is for us, this is speculation. Of course. So it would be lovely to hear from one of you if somebody happens to listen. But nevertheless, there are certain basic principles of life, like we check this our episode on the elements. We can see that almost every healing culture all around the world has based their healing procedures in the elemental or humoral theory, whatever it's called. So in that way, I would like to agree with you that there is some basic, this sort of that you have the water and fire, or the day and night, whatever this polarity you want to call. And when you operate with that, you harmonize that, you balance this, you bring balance to the wholeness of human being.
Yeah, and that makes you feel like throbbing from life, you know. It's really exciting. And but of course we can sort of approach sauna from at least these two layers. You could go down to the sauna, you can uplift yourself in the sauna, and you know, and I think the difference is just that the ancient cultures really knew about this, and they were really interested in this base layer, and they would sort of invent their technologies from this place onwards. And nowadays maybe we just first take some things as given, like what is a sauna? It's a hot room where you pour water and then you get steam. And okay, that's it. We're not going to disagree with that. Okay, fine. I could even agree on that. But then he would say, but there's more. And the difference becomes whether we believe there's more or not. And there maybe some people who say, no, sauna and life, it's about, you know, just this biohacking side of sauna. But then on the other hand, you know, if we of course would want to stay true to those people who have developed these kind of technologies in order to survive maybe thousands of years ago. What were they thinking? What was their sort of basic function of the sauna? And see if we could learn from that. Yeah, but interesting. Life culture, this is how we build it, you know, day by day, by enjoying the temple of the elements. Anything you want to add?
There is a lot, but I think now a lot has been said. Good to digest a little, and we would love to hear from you guys who are listening there. If there is any comment or spark or inspiration or question or doubt, especially, we would love to hear from that, and then proceed with the conversation. I feel again that we just scratched the surface of fire ritual.
Yeah, definitely.
If we wanted to talk about life force and fire ritual, we basically opened the first page of the book. So we will dive deeper in this, but many beautiful thoughts. Thank you, Otto.
Yeah, thank you. It was really interesting, and definitely this is sort of an aspect to it. That's what we try to do, is just to open an aspect. And it's been definitely interesting also, like having a discussion with you, dear listeners. Like I finally got myself to answer this, and we were thinking about we try to answer the two of us, so then no wonder if we're doing something, it's referring to us. But that's a really sort of very fruitful platform for discussion. I like the idea of going to YouTube and checking out, there's a comment, and then we can start a discussion about saunas in Kazakhstan, or you know, about the sort of womb of the Lady of the North, or whatever you're interested in, and we're definitely interested in in a lot of these same topics.
Yeah, talk about fire as a metabolism, as a fire of life described in the runes. So fire in the sauna stove.
Yeah. We will continue about this for sure. And so again, thank you for listening, and hope to see you in YouTube or Spotify.
Or in Finland.
Yeah, definitely. Saunahealer.com.
Yes.
It's our retreat. We're renewing it a little bit for the next year, but now still there's some spaces spaces left in the June retreat.
I think June we dive deep into the forest. Sauna ritual is in the essence. So.
Yeah, and this place will be blooming, and that's the beautiful part.
Fire of life will be burning.
Yeah, great. So you can go to saunahealer.com and check out more. But all right. Until next time, Laura.
Next time. Kiitos.
Kiitos.